Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's an honor for me to be imparting this webinar today. My name is Juan. I'm better known online as John. I am an interior designer. I've been working in interior design for about 3 years now as a freelancer, and Home has been one of the best tools that I've ever used. And when you pair it with SKETCHUP, which is the topic for today's webinar, it you guys will notice how it improves the rendering quality and all the possibilities that using SKETCHUP brings to Home. First of all, we're not gonna dive in SKETCHUP at all. I mean, I'm gonna explain what SKETCHUP is, but I'm not gonna explain every little detail, as this would be a totally different webinar. However, let's start with the basics of SKETCHUP. This is SKETCHUP 2019, I think. There is the 2022 version. However, I still use the 2019 version because it has more plugins. This is the starting screen for SKETCHUP. One of the basic tools that you're gonna use, and you probably already know from Home, is the rectangle tool, the circle tool, and many others. And this, for example, is the push-pull tool, which allows to create a block. This allows to create a cylinder. There are also the tape measure tool, which you can activate by using the T key, and this allows to take exact dimensions of the surface that you're trying to measure. And among this, I'm going to be explaining some of the other features along the process, so you can better understand the workflow with this program, which is not that hard if you really want to learn it. And if you really want to learn it, there are a ton of online tutorials for you to use, like in YouTube. SKETCHUP has an apart section in their webpage where they can teach you how to use the program. But overall, this program is a 3D modeling software used by engineers, architects, interior designers, and many other to create photorealistic models and then render them. And Home, as we know it, has a capability in which you can upload SKETCHUP models and then render them in the Home engine, which is the main topic for today's webinar. First of all, we're going to be modeling a kitchen for this project. This project is a project that I already did a couple of months ago, and we're going to redo it for you for the sake of this webinar. Since we're going to be focusing on kitchen, we have to understand that kitchens have standard dimensions. For example, most kitchens are 36 inches. This are the walls for this project, and below it I have the floor plan for it, so I can use it as reference. And as I mentioned before, kitchens have standard dimensions. For example, the standard height is 36 inches. So this would be 36 inches. And the standard depth of a kitchen varies from 22 inches from 25 inches, depending on the size of the kitchen. For this small kitchen, we're gonna go with 24 inches. So now that we have the basics laid out, we have to finish the kitchen footprint, and then we can disappear the floor mat, the floor mat from the scene and start modeling the base for this kitchen. So we start with a simple rectangle, which is 24 inches depth, and we have to create the base for the base cabinets. So let's create a group. So we double click on the rectangle, click on U, and that's a group now. And most base cabinets go from 50 centimeters to 80 centimeters. So we're gonna go with 60 centimeters for this. So now that we have the base for this cabinet, we have to leave an opening for the fridge. Fridges are normally standard as well in this case. And since this kitchen is a small kitchen, we're gonna go for a single door fridge, which are normally 700 centimeters. So we create the base for the cabinets, and then what we have to do, or at least how I do things, is this. So I create a new rectangle. I create the base of the board that divides the base cabinets from the fridge itself, and just take it up to the roof. Now that we have created this board, we can simply press on M, then Control, then arrow, and slide it to the other side in order to create the space where the fridge will go. As I mentioned before, all fridges are normally standard, and they are normally 1,750 millimeters. So this would be the total height for our fridge. So 700 width and 750 millimeters for the height. Now that we have the height, we can now create the base for the wall cabinets. Now we have to create a group, press on U, double click, push pull, and push it all the way here. So this hole is where the fridge will go in our final kitchen. Now that we have this, we have to create the base cabinets. Knowing that the total height is 36 inches and we have the base cabinets, the base for the base cabinets here, we have to press on M, Control, up arrow, and we duplicate this component. So we take this one all the way up to 36 inches, and we have to remember that we have to count the countertop in this 36 inches height. So we have to take this down about 30 inches, which will be the total height for the countertop. And once this is done, we can now create the countertop area, which is the countertop component, which is another rectangle. Press on U, then P key, which is push pull, and now we have the countertop. This is just the base for our kitchen. And this is how everything starts. Now, this kitchen, we have a sink right here, and an oven right here, a pair of wall cabinets right here, and a tubular range hood in this corner. And later on, I will show you what material we will use for the backsplash. In this case, we're not going to use any backsplash in this kitchen because the backsplash itself will be the wall from Kuhom. Now that we have these basics, we have to create now the wall cabinets that are missing. So make sure to measure how much you want your base cabinets, your wall cabinets to be. And in this case, I'm comfortable with 1 meter, and that's more than enough for me. Normally, wall cabinets are not as deep as the rest of the cabinets because of design. Hold on, my computer just froze. So now that we have the exact measures that we want for the wall cabinets, we now create a new rectangle. Press on U, create a group, and the standard depth for the wall cabinets is around 18 inches. In this case, I think it's a little bit too much, so let's take it down 1 inch, maybe 1 extra inch, and that's the height, that's the depth that I want for my base, for my wall cabinets. Now that we have the base for everything, we can start adding more details. In this case, we're gonna do the cabinets layout. So let's start with the wall cabinets. Let's create the board that encloses the door. Hold on. So this is the door that So it's important to remember that you have to model things as they are in real life. It's not just a block. Kitchens consist of many boards and wood pieces that make the actual kitchen. So in this case, and since we already have this, we have to leave some room for the future doors. So we take this and we take it back around 20 millimeters, which is the total depth of the doors that we're going to use in a moment, as well as for this. If the doors are going to be like this, imagine that if we do the doors like this and do one door, there's a gap right here. The doors should be right behind this board. So it is, what we have to do is that we have to take the base, take it off 20 millimeters, and take the exact dimensions. I like to separate my doors from the final board around 5 millimeters. So I take a 5 millimeter measure here. And in order to have a center door, I take one measure from this line right here to the other side, which is 670 millimeters, and I type 670 divided by 2, and I get this exact. And this is now the center, which I can then use to create my doors. So I take a rectangle from this corner to this opposite corner, and I have created a new rectangle. I take this, click on U, create a group, protrude it or push it like 20 millimeters, and I have a door right here. So I want to make this door a component. A component means that each individual component which should be altered the same way if I affect the primary component. So if I triple click on it and click on J, I'm creating a new component. So I create it, and then I can take, hold on, and then I can take this one, click on M, then Control, then arrow to the right, separate this about 5 millimeters, and then we can click on both. Click on S, which is the scale tool, and find the middle of it, and find the measure that we did right here. And now our doors are centered and ready to be used. We're going to do the same procedure for these doors. Take a 5 millimeter here, then take a 5 millimeter measure here. We just want 2 doors right here, so we're going to do the same. 990 millimeters, so we type 990 divided by 2, and we have the center now. So what we can do is take this same component, click on Control. I just want this one right here. So let's do this. We place it here. We locate it at the 5 millimeter mark, and we can click on S and take it up here. And we can now repeat it. We separated 5 millimeters, which is a realistic gap between both doors. We take these both doors, click on S, and take it to the 5 millimeter mark that we already did. The same goes for the base cabinets. This base is normally way behind the actual doors. Let's take it back around 50 millimeters, so 5 centimeters. And oh my God, what's going on with my computer? All right, so now that we have created the basic shape of our kitchen, we can now delete all these measuring lines because they are like in the middle of everything, and we don't want that. So we have to do this. So this is the countertop, and this is the base cabinet. So let's triple click on it, push pull 20 to the back. And now we have to decide on which cabinet layout we want for our kitchen. So remember that we're going to have an oven right here, and this oven, let me do this real quick. So if you triple click on a component and click on J, you'll hide everything but the model that you have selected. So let's take it back to 20. Sorry, not this one. Let's go back to the base cabinets, 20 to the back. Let's go back to the base, 20 again to the back. And we are going to create a board for the end of this kitchen, which is a realistic way to end it. So we have now created a new rectangle here, triple click, U, it's now a group, 20, and we align it with a countertop. And now we have, let me hide this real quick for you to see. Now we have the basic kitchen. Now, I mentioned before that kitchens have standard dimensions, and the kitchen appliances already have standard dimensions. For example, the oven that we're going to use is around 30 inches. Ovens go from 27 inches to 36 inches. In this case, we're going to use a 30-inch oven. So what we have to do is measure from this end to the other side and click and type 30 inches, and it will automatically create a 30-inch. Maybe this is too big for this kitchen. Let's go with 27. 27 inches is better. Yeah, that's better for this kitchen. So let's create an opening right here. So 27 by 27, and it will create a rectangle right here, a square in this case, which we're then gonna use for the oven. So if we click on this, go all the way to the opposite corner and click on it, we now have a opening for the oven. Now, finally, if the sink, so all the components that I use, or at least most of them, are downloaded from the 3D warehouse, which is like a repertoire of models, especially used for SketchUp. And if I search for oven right here, if I search for oven, then we're going to have thousands of models that we can use. Not all of them work, not all of them are photorealistic, but if you search, then you can use a really photorealistic one, which like this one, maybe this one. It doesn't really matter, it's up to you. But in this case, I already have the oven that I want to use. So let me search it real quick and let me fit it in so you can see how I do it. So let's go to this webinar number 2. We select here SKP models, and now I have the oven right here. So let me import it, and here I have it. This oven is a little bit smaller than I anticipated, so I will probably have to adjust it. So what we have to do now in order to rotate the model is click on Q and then fix it to the parallel with the up arrow. Click on it, click on the other side, rotate it, and type 90 degrees, and it will perfectly rotate 90 degrees. So now that we have done this, we have to fit it in. So we slide it in, find the base, find the baseline, which is right here. Slide all the way here. Click on here. Well, my computer is not helping me today, but anyways, let's keep on going. Then we slide it up all the way here, align it with this, so the oven can be flush with the rest of the kitchen. And what we have to do now is adjust the final location for it. So we want, oh, sorry. Ovens normally go all the way to the countertop. So let's take it up here. Let's make it wider with the S tool that I mentioned before. We press on we have to have the component selected, then press on S and take it all the way to here. And you can see that it is now kind of elongated. So let's take it down a little bit more so it can be a square. And that's it. That's enough for me. Now let's adjust this and take it up all the way here. I have a problem right here. This should be right here. This is the proper location for the oven. So now that we have the oven right here, it's time to create the doors and drawers. So if we have normally when you have a sink, this is not a rule, but it's what is most commonly done. When you have a sink right here, I'm going to create an opening here just for the sake of this explanation. Imagine that we have a sink right here. You normally have doors right below the sink. So what you want to do, so for the sake of this explanation, let's go with the sink. I already have a sink file, SKP file, which I downloaded from the 3D warehouse. This is a sink that we're going to use. So as you can see, this model is already quite photorealistic. The corners are rounded. And the good thing about this, which is something you cannot do in Kuhom, is adjust the exact size as per your model. So what we want to do is take this down all the way here, find the best location for it. In this case, it will be around here for me. That's it. And let's open up the sink opening in the countertop. So let's draw a rectangle in the countertop area. Let's take this back all the way here. The same for every side. I'm noticing that this sink has round corners. So what we're going to do in this case is extend this line all the way here. Take this one, select it, press on M, and press on the right arrow, and do the same for the rest of them. So in order to create a rounded opening, we have to take this square, measure around 50, 40 millimeters, 40 millimeters on this side, and the same for every side. And we're going to use the circle tool, which is the C key. Click on this middle and take it all the way to the edge. The same for every corner. So now we have to delete the corners, like this. Delete the inner circle. And now we have a rounded square that we can now use to create the opening for the sink. We have to do the same for the base cabinets. So let's go ahead and create a rectangle here. Push it all the way to 500 enough so it doesn't override the sink model. Take it all the way to the sides. And we're gonna have enough room for the sink to lay in. Now let's reappear the sink and take it all the way down to the countertop. Now you can now see that the edges of the sink does not align with the countertop edges. So what we can do is click on S and adjust the scale of this model. This is going to be the longest part of this tutorial as I'm focusing on the SketchUp modeling part. We now adjust the sink to match the sides of the countertop so it can lay flush. Let's go to this side, find the middle, drag it and align it. And finally, this part, drag it and align it. So now we have our sink. This is the kitchen that we're doing right now. I already have it done it, but for the sake of this webinar, we're gonna redo it. So now that we have the sink, we have to find the center of it so we can now create the doors. So we click on this edge, drag it, and hold and press the red axis. Find the middle right here, and this is the middle for, oh my God. Let me hide this. This is the middle of our sink. So what we have to do now is take this measure as well as the others, 5 millimeters off, and duplicate 335. So 335, that's our doors. We're probably gonna have to reduce the size of this oven. There are also 24 inches oven, which is probably the option I'm going for in this case, since this kitchen is so small and I want everything to look coherent. So let's create a 20 millimeter gap for the doors to be able to open and insert the fingers and then open the door. So let's go and create a new door. Double click, U, push pull 20 millimeters. So now M, control, red, drag it here, 5 millimeters. And that's the center. That's the doors are now centered with the sink. Now, let's adjust this as I see this is quite big still. So let's take it, let's close it for a moment and go for 24 inches, which is the smallest oven you can use. Let's drag it 24 inches. Let's reappear. Oh God. Take the oven, click on hold on, it's 24 inches, so it should be 24 inches height as well. 24 inches, there we go, it's practically there. Adjust it, take it off. Click on S and adjust it until you reach your final destination, which is the 24 inches mark. Now, it now looks more even, more aligned with the rest of it. So we're gonna go for it. We're using this one. Now, we don't have enough room for an extra door, but we can maybe create some small drawers. So in this case, what we're gonna do is take a 5 millimeter mark here, as well as from this side. And let's say that we want a large drawer right below the oven to reach until this side, and then one, 2, 3 extra drawers. So maybe 4 rows with a large drawer. This is just for the sake of this webinar. This is maybe a quite small drawer, but it's enough for you to understand. So let's take a measure from this to here, which is our final drawer, or at least where we want our final drawer to be at. And from here to here, we can take an extra measure and divide it by 3, which is going to create 3 separate drawers. So 590 divided by 3, that's not a small drawer, but it's a drawer and it's storage space. And what you want with small kitchen is as much storage space as you can provide as an interior designer. So every inch of storage space is well welcomed. 393 divided by 2. So this is the layout that we're going for. Let's create a new component right here. I just don't know what's going on with my computer. I apologize for this beforehand, but it's not working as flush as it does every day. However, let's go with this. Let's create a square right here, double click U, P, create a component. Let's create a component out of this, create, and let's take it down. So since these are drawers, you have to have enough room for the fingers to open the drawers. In this case, we're gonna do hitting handles, but we still have to have like 20 millimeters for us to insert the fingers and pull the drawer off. So I'm good with this. Let's create a separate component for this. 20 millimeters off. And in order to align this drawer with this line right here, we have to select 1, 2, and this 3. Go to S, align it with this. So everything's not aligned with the rest. And we have to create a final drawer right here. So we're going to take this one right here, copy that, separate it 20 millimeters, extend it to fit the base of this cabinet. And we need a 5 millimeter mark right here so we can reach. Click on S, and that's it. So we have created a set of drawers. And what I normally like to do is that the open should be aligned with the rest of the doors so they can remain hidden. So there we go. Now that we have created the doors layout, we're now ready to move forward to the next stage, which is adding the extra layer of detail. For example, these doors right here need a way to open because we're not gonna add regular handles. We're just going for hidden handles. And in this case, and since I created each door as a component, everything that I do in this component will affect the rest, which is gonna create a more fluid workflow for this project. So let's do this real quick and imagine this. Quite easy to do, quite fast, and it's quite realistic, to be honest, and it works. So let's now create a gap for the fingers to insert and open the doors. And we have done that with the rest of the doors, which are these 4. Now we have to do the same for this. Oh, I didn't do, you see, I didn't make these doors a component, and I'm gonna have to do this by separate. So it's gonna take the double time. Now that we have created the doors, we have to set the drawers off. And do the same procedure for everything. And our doors are now done. That's it. It's as simple as that. So this project has a door right here, which leads to the bathroom that we want to hide. In this case, we're going to use the same board from the kitchen and drag it all the way here. And I did the same procedure for everything. So I'm just going to copy this, which I already have done, so we can accelerate the webinar itself and use it. Let's copy this, take it all the way here, paste. Drag it here. And what we're doing with this is creating a hidden door, which is only going to be for aesthetic features. Let's take it right here, separate it 5 millimeters as the rest, maybe less, maybe just 2. And that's it. We have our door. And then a final panel for the rest of the wall. Create a component, 20 millimeters. Oh God. And finally, the door handle, which is quite simple. Okay, so now that we have, it's taking some time to import a simple door handle, whatever. In order to create a photorealistic model, it is important to understand that the blocks in real life, and by block, I mean, what is this? No, I just want this. I just want this, which is the door handle. Let's copy this. So now that we have copied the door handle, we can now paste it. Well, I truly apologize for this. This is not normal. I have to investigate what's going on with my computer at this point. It's probably because of many programs that I have opened in order to impart this webinar. Normally, when you have a more powerful computer, this does not happen because the GPU helps to, but this is not my primary computer. So let's take this all the way here. Mhm. Door handles are normally 1 meter high. So what we have to do is take this one here, and that's it. So in order to import an SKP model to Kuhom, it is important to understand how the material tab works. So when you upload a model, it has each, let me see how to explain this because it took me some time to understand this. So imagine that the countertop is wood, which is actually going to be wood. Let's just paint it as wood. So select wood, take this one and paint it. All right. Of course, this is not how it will look once uploaded, but if all doors are black, then let's paint all doors black. So this is black, this is black, this one's black as well. The base is going to be black. The sink is going to be black, but it has to be a different black. It doesn't matter that both things are black. They are different materials. And if you import this with this black, which is the same black as the doors, then both components will be painted the same, and you don't want that. So make sure that use different colors for each different part, as each color will define the final color of it. This is going to be black as well. The base is going to be black. The oven already has its colors on, so it's going to be easier for us to paint. Black, 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 and black, and black. Black. So now that we have everything ready, we can now paint this black as well. These are components, black and black. So this is how it should look once done. Now, the final part for the modeling, at least for me, is rounding the corners, because in real life, edges are not 90 degrees. And that's when you understand that the photorealism, the rendering relies on those small details as this one. So in order to round the corners, we use a SketchUp plugin, which is called Round Corner. You can download it from the SketchUp website. It is free. And what it does is this. So if I triple click on it and click on bevel, I can now adjust the size of the beveling that I want to do. So let's say that it's 0.5 millimeters, which is enough for me. Then click on enter. And now the corners are not 90 degrees. This is a very, very small detail, but trust me, when you're rendering, this makes a huge difference. Now let's do the same with the rest of it. The doors are components, so let's click on them, and now every door has a beveled shape to the edge, which is more realistic. That's the same here. Now let's do the same in the rest of the boards. Let me this beveling. This door as well. This door as well. And the drawers. And this one right here. What we're missing is the countertops. Countertops are normally more beveled than the doors. So let's click on bevel and adjust it to 1 millimeter, which is a bit more. Let's delete this, and this is all for that. You see now that we have created a very small kitchen with the improved realism that we mentioned before. And what we have to do now is create a general component for it. So what we have to do is select everything just like this. And once everything is selected, hold on a second. This is a mess. All right. Now we have everything selected, including the door handle and everything. We can now, let me check real quick what the material on this is. All right. So now that we have everything selected, we click on U, and we have a general component for the kitchen, which we can now click on G, make component. Let's name this kitchen model and create it. And once you create the component, you can now save it. Go to documents. This is my folder, kitchen model, and it's gonna save itself as an SKP file. And this is all for the first part of the webinar. Now let's move on with the second part, which is uploading a SKP model to Kuhum. We go to personal library, and we have two tabs, the models upload library and the textures that we'll cover in a minute. So let's upload the kitchen model, upload model. And it is important to understand that Kuhum only allows certain types of 3D models, such as Max, RAR, SIP, FBX, GLB, and SKP, which is the one we're using now. And the max size of it should be should not exceed 200 megabytes. But note that in order to upload, I've uploaded 200 megabytes models before, and in order to do so, you need a quite fast internet connection because it has to match. I mean, the bigger the component is, the harder it's going to be for Kuhum to upload it and then render it. So make sure to have a stable internet speed. But in this case, this kitchen is a small component. It shouldn't have any problem when uploading. So we go to Documents, Webinar 2, and search for the kitchen model that we just did. Click on Open it, and it's going to upload it. And in the meantime, we can adjust the model category. So in this case, this is a kitchen bathroom, kitchen, and this is cabinet. However, what I like to do to save some time is go to others and click on floor furniture, and that's it. We have to wait until it uploads. It doesn't normally take this long. But you know how it works. When you're trying to explain something, it's not as fast as you normally do it. Whatever, it's a great opportunity to share, or at least to say how grateful I am with Kuhum for this opportunity. I mean, I've been working on Kuhum ever since I became an interior designer. It was the first software I used. And 3 years ago, things were not as they are today with Kuhum. I mean, it was very limited. The resources and the glitches on the page were quite frustrating. And I'm glad to say that the team behind the Kuhum UX have improved all these details, all the new models that they upload, all the new rendering capabilities that they include. The video roaming rendering is a feature that I love, and I'd like to keep testing in the future if possible. It's just an endless possibilities that you can do with Kuhum. And when you pair it with SketchUp, as we're doing right now, you then understand how good of a program it is, and why isn't, and you start to wonder, why isn't this more popular? And what we're trying to do this, Xinjiang and I, myself, with this kind of webinars is to teach everyone what Kuhum is really capable of when you explore out of the box, when you think out of the box, when you pair it with different programs and different techniques in order to get the best result out of it. And I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm glad to be teaching you guys at least this little part that I know, which is not the only thing that I've discovered of Kuhum, but in this case, for this webinar, I'm glad to be letting you know how I do things so you can do the same and take 4K renderings as if they were pictures. So now that it has uploaded, we have to wait until the rendering software renders the model, and once it renders, we can now then submit the model and it's ready to be used. But before moving on with this part, I'd like to talk about the textures uploader. So there are several types of textures. There are several types of textures that you can use in a program, in a project. So that's, hold on. So it now rendered. Okay, so let's submit a model and continue to upload, because we are now going to upload a texture. So if we go to personal library again and we click on the texture tab, we can now upload textures. So what we're going to do now is upload a black color for the kitchen, but we don't want a flat black because it would be unrealistic. Normally, when kitchens are black, they have this roughness map added to it that creates different shadows and different reflections that improve the realism. So in this case, we're gonna upload a black material with a roughness map. And later on, I'm gonna explain what a PBR texture is, which is the part that I wanna reach and the part I'm more excited to explain about this webinar, because I feel that it's underrated, underknown, and should be known more. I mean, and after you know how to use it and you start playing with it and exploring it and understanding how it works, you're gonna love PBR materials. So let's click on upload from computer and let's search for this kitchen black, which is the black color we're going to use for our kitchen. Now, once it uploads, remember that the images can only be 5 MB or below. Otherwise, it's not going to work. It's not even going to upload. So let's select the material category. In this case, I'm going to go for coding, texture paints, and advanced settings because we are going to add an extra map to this texture. So let's click on preview, and while I upload this one, let's go to reflection map, and let's click on bitmap. If I upload a bitmap such as this roughness map, you can see that it has a texture to it. It's not going to look like this. This is only going to affect the reflections on the surface. So let's upload this one. And you can see how, if I zoom it in, you can see that this black texture is quite flat. But once I upload the roughness map, it's going to affect the reflections a little bit different, and the light bouncing is going to be different. So let's adjust this to 9.9 and 0.8, which is the parameters I normally use. And now that the bitmap has uploaded, we can now reload this and take a closer look. And you're gonna see that the changes are minimum, but are there and are quite needed in order to get a photorealistic rendering. It's quite hard to see. It's there, trust me. The reflection map is there and it's going to work. So let's confirm the advanced settings, and for the texture category, let's go with paint and cuttings. And it is important to understand the mapping dimensions, which is the part I had more trouble understanding in the past. The mapping dimensions means how many inches your texture will take. So in this case, let's go for the maximum, which is 400 inches by 400 inches, and let's upload the texture. Now that the texture is uploaded, we can now go ahead and open our project in Kuhum, which is this one. I have already done it in order to save some time. And what we have to do now is go to 2D and go to my account, uploads, and our kitchen model should be right here, correct. So let's place it on the scene, move it all the way here, maybe with the arrows. It sometimes just doesn't work. I'll click on here and click on 0 and click on 0 as well right here, and everything should be aligned with the rest of the room. So now we have it. Oh, it is well, I forgot to add the lights right here. There should be a light right here. Whatever, in order to save some time, we're just gonna skip that part. Or not, because I like that part and it is quite useful for everyone. So LED stripes. It can be as easy as you want or as hard as you want. In my case, and since I work with LED lights quite commonly, I like to do them like this. So I want to add an LED stripe in this area right here, this right below the kitchen cabinet, the wall cabinet. So let's go back to this component and select this line only, drag it 30 millimeters and take it up 30 millimeters as well. So we have now created a gap, which we're gonna use maybe a little more, maybe 10 more, 40, that's it. So let's take a circle, create a circle, double click, create a component, create a group, sorry, and take it all the way up to this side. And maybe a little bit higher, like this. And we're gonna paint it in yellow, which is going to mean that this is going to be an LED strip. It is as simple as that. So let's now resave this as a general component and make sure that the new light is included there as it is. Click on U, save as, kitchen model, and we're going to replace it And we're gonna have to re-upload it, of course, because we have modified the kitchen. So let's delete this one and re-upload this kitchen model. Documents, webinar, kitchen model, and that's it. Open, others, for furniture. And while it uploads, which I don't know why it's taking so long. Whatever, I'm gonna explain this real quick. Display first. Now that we have our kitchen right here, we have to decide what material we're gonna use for the backsplash and some accents that we're gonna do in this wall. In this case, this is a modern industrial apartment, and the client wanted to combine blacks, woods, and concrete. In this case, we're gonna use this concrete texture that I have already uploaded here, but in a minute, once this uploads, I'm gonna show you how to upload it. This right here, concrete, is a PBR texture. And the PBR is only seen once it renders, not in the modeling stage. But if we place this texture right here, this is the concrete that we're gonna upload in a moment. You can see that it has some divisions. This is a concrete bunker type concrete, which is normally very rough, and it has some divisions to it that has to protrude. If I were to render this texture without the PBR capabilities, it would look like a flat surface, which is unrealistic. In this case, and since we want this scene to look as realistic as possible, we have to use a PBR material. What is a PBR material? PBR materials stands for physically based rendering, which is basically a set of maps or image maps that create a realistic texture that interacts with the rendering and creates 3D shapes. And you're going to see how in a moment. So a PBR material takes more rendering resources because it is more difficult to the rendering engine to decipher this kind of textures, because it is not a simple image as the one we just uploaded, but this is a set of different images that combined create a texture that has some added layer of detail that you're going to see in a moment. So this same texture is the one we're going to use in this wall right here. And for those that don't know, when you just want to paint just one wall, just click on Control and click on it. As well as for any material, if you select this one and you want to paint a black, but not, if I click on this, then every wall in this room is going to be painted as black, and I don't want that. So if we go to this and click on Control, just this wall is going to be painted with this material that we just selected, and as well as this one. So the backsplash is going to be this raw concrete that I just uploaded, and it's going to be, you're going to love it once you see it, because I loved it the first time that I saw it, and ever since then I've never stopped using PBR textures. Of course, you have to know when to use them, because as I said before, these kind of textures really takes on the rendering the rendering engine, and it takes more time to take a 4K rendering when there are many PBR textures. So it's safe to know that. Now that the kitchen has re-uploaded, let's submit this model, and we should be ready to, let me clear this real quick for the sake of it. While I wait, yeah, so we should be ready in about, check models. It will not appear on the upload tab until this renders right here. So once it renders, it will be available in the uploads tab. If I go here, you see that it's not here yet until it renders. And once it renders, it should be available. Now that it has rendered, We can now go back to the upload tab, and here it is. So let's delete this one, which is the old one. Take this one and restart. This is how it works. This is a slow process. You have to go back and forth in order to fix some little details that you didn't notice before. But this is how it works. This is how everything happens, and it's not as simple as it looks. So now that we have our model right here, let's go back to the material tab. So enter the material editor, and in order to enter this material editor, you also need a quite stable internet speed, because I've come to notice that when your internet is not as fast as you wish, Chrome won't let you enter this feature. But if your internet speed is fast enough, then you can use this feature, and it's quite useful, to be honest. I hope most of you can use it. Most of you have a fast internet speed. And once we're here, we can modify every aspect in terms of finishes of this kitchen. Since this kitchen is mostly all black, it's going to be somehow easy for us to place the materials on it. So we're going to use the black that we just uploaded, and we can find right here, which is black kitchen. Any of these two will work. Let's use this one. And I don't know if you can notice, but if I move this now, you will not see this. It's quite easy. It's not easy to see. Whatever, let's go for 200. So we're not affecting the size of the black. We're just affecting the size of the roughness map that we just uploaded. And the bigger it is right here, the bigger the roughness map will look. So let's stick to 200, as I don't want the roughness map to look too elongated. So as most of it is black, let's now go with the countertop material. I have a material here that I already uploaded. Let's go with this one right here, which is a raw wood that we're going to use for the countertop, and then adjust the size of it to match the reality, which is around, would be around, it is important to set the size of the textures as close to reality as possible so you can get a realistic rendering. So in this case, let me just move this right here. And that's enough for me. Let's go now with the oven. The oven has separate, you see that each material that the oven has is a separate tab that we have to put a material on. So what I like to do is go, this is the metal part of the oven, go to metal and search for the metal material, which is in this case, let's go with matte 1. Yeah. This is the glass for the oven. And in this case, for the oven, I like to use 2-4, which is a dark glass. This is another detail for the oven. Let's go with the same metal that we used before. This is a tricky part. It takes time, it takes effort. And once you do it, you'll notice that it was worth it. It was worth the time that you invested placing each material as right as possible. Metal, let's search for 18. I've used this so many times that I already know the name of each metal that I want to use, the name of, I already know this tab quite well, and that's why I work so fast on it. But for you, I recommend exploring each tab so you can understand how it works. This is a oven handle. Let's go with not maybe this metal right here, matte 6. This is the grills for the oven, I think. Yeah, correct. Let's go with this one as well. The oven has a light inside, so I already have a light material uploaded right here, which I'd like to use. You can also upload light or luminous materials like this one I just used. And this is the oven itself, which we're gonna use the 18, which is the black one. For the sink, we're gonna use a black metal, but not this same. Or we can use this one if we want. Yeah, we can use that one if we want. And finally, the light strip that we just did. And we're gonna use the same luminous material that I just uploaded, where I didn't just upload it, it was a couple of days ago, but we're gonna use this one and you're gonna see how it looks. And well, all we have left is the door handle, I think. So we're gonna use a metal as well, maybe black, this one, and this one right here. So we're all set. We're all set. Now that we have placed the materials on it, we have to set some of the appliances that are yet to be used, such as the kitchen faucet, the the cooktop, which I already have here for the sake of this webinar. We're just gonna, oh, on the fridge. So cooktop, outlets, cutting boards for decoration, kitchen faucet, and the fridge that we're gonna use. So let's take this right here. Let's drag it all the way here. Let's drag it. All right. So let's go. And that's it. This was faster than I anticipated because I already have it saved. However, in your case, make sure to select the materials and components and appliances that best fit your project. It is important to select realistic components in order to make it look as realistic as possible. So now what we're going to do is move this and fit it in like perfectly into the hole that we just did right here. If you click on R, you can then adjust the height and deselect the scale button. You can then adjust everything to fit perfectly, or at least as perfect as you can. Right here. And that's it. We have to take this out a little bit so the doors can open just like this. And then the faucet, we maybe have to move it a little bit back right here and center it with the center of the sink, which is already there. Now the cutting board, hold on for a second, and the cooktop. And finally, I want to add a nice range hood, which in this case is going to be a tubular model that I downloaded from a web page and then uploaded to Kuhn. In this case, I'm going to use this one. Let's take it up. All right, we're about to be done. It's not much longer until I show you the final result. And take it all the way up to the ceiling. And that's it. That's our range hood. Now we have to change the materials for it so we can have a realistic material wise. And what we can use as we're going for the black vibe, let's stick with metal, black metal. We can use probably, I don't know, maybe metal, black. Maybe this one is enough. Yeah, at least for a rendering, this one's enough. And these are lights, so we have to turn them on. All right, so this one right here, and that's it. Oh, no, sorry. All right, that's it. Now, before we take the rendering, I want to show you how to upload the PBR material that I was mentioning before. I didn't forget about that. So let's go to textures and upload a texture. Now, as I mentioned before, PBR materials consist of several maps that create just a single texture. But in order to do so, you have to download them from specialized websites such as this one right here. SketchUp Texture Club has a set of thousands of materials that come in PBR settings, such as bricks, concrete, decorative panels, marble slabs, paving outdoor, whatever. Go and the list goes on and on and on of wood, wood planks, wood floors, and on and on and on. So once you download one of these textures, it comes with several maps, such as diffuse, ambient occlusion, displacement, normal, and roughness. So in this case, we're going to use some of these maps in order to upload this texture. So we go to this bunker concrete, and diffuse is the main color. So this one's the first texture that we want to upload. Once it uploads, we're going to have to modify the advanced settings in order to create the photorealistic texture. So let's wait until it uploads. Now that we have uploaded this, we have to select the specific category for it. In this case, we're going for stone, and then we're going for cement boards. All right. Now, if we open advanced settings, now we'll notice that we have a displacement tab, a bump map. So in in the displacement tab, we're going to upload the displacement map. So if we open it and it uploads, and in the bump, we're gonna upload the normal map. Okay, so now that the displacement map and the bump map have uploaded, we can now preview how the texture looks without affecting any of the parameters yet. So if we preview this, we can preview and wait until it renders, we'll see that it will look like a flat surface. And once we adjust these settings, it will create a 3D texture that we're going to use. So if we take a closer look at here, it is a flat texture, all right? So we have to modify that in order to create a photorealistic material. So let's go with this. If we affect the displacement and set it on 20, and the bump, I don't want this to be quite bumped, so let's go to -1. If we click on the preview, you'll notice how the texture is now modified and it has texture to it. So just wait until it renders and you'll see. You see how it looks? It looks quite odd right here, but when we upload it and use it, you'll see and you'll thank me later. So finally, we have to select this as wall tiles probably, and the texture, the map dimensions we're going for is 65 inches by 65 inches. Then we can upload a texture and it's ready to be used. So for the sake of this webinar, I'm going to show you how the texture looks alone without the rest of the model. So let me go ahead and real quick deselect this. Let me hide this. And as I mentioned before, we want to use this texture in this wall, which is going to be the backsplash, and this back wall right here, which is going to be the accent wall. So let's go to uploads and use the texture we just uploaded. Place it on this wall, place it on this wall, and we have already done it in this wall right here. So if we now take a render of this scene, let's go to 30 FOV. Da, 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 da. Now let's do this and show you how it looks. This is a PBR texture, natural daylight, specular reflections. Let's click on render, and while it renders, let's take this up again. This is our final scene. I'm showing you how it looks in a moment. Da, 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 da. All right, let's hide this plant right here. And moving forward to the final part of this webinar, which is the photorealistic rendering. It is important for us to understand, oh my God, pending 6, we have the queue 6 people in the line. So this is gonna take some time to produce. So this is the scene that we have. I don't know if you guys saw the last webinar that I gave, which is photorealistic rendering. I'm not gonna dive in so deep into this aspect as I have already explained it. However, as Xinjiang already knows, I like to use natural daylight, which is the template I'm more comfortable with. In order to understand how lights work, you have to first take your rendering without any lights on. So if you take a deeper look at this rendering, this is the empty or black scene or blank scene with just the sun on and the exterior map on. So this is the rendering scene without any lights on, without any rectangular lights. So it is quite dark and it's not realistic. So in order to create a realistic scene, we have to use rectangular lights, or at least I use rectangular lights for this matter. You can use whatever method better suits your needs. In this case, I like to use rectangular lights to provide the main source of light for my projects. And if you take a closer look to this rendering, this is the blank scene with just one rectangular light that goes all the way from edge to edge as this one. So this rectangular lights cover all this window and all this window. All right, so this simple light at 5,700 and the intensity is 1200 is the one that creates this rendering right here. So unable to do so, it is recommended to try the emitter. All right, I've never got that message before. All right, I don't have anything to say. So the rendering is already going on. That simple light, that rectangular light is the one that's giving me this overall illumination. And if you take a closer look, it may look a little bit more illuminated than wished, but take in consideration that once I place all the models in, the light will reduce and will be seen as much more realistic. So now that we have created this, now let's take a closer look at this PBR texture, which is the thing that I want to dive in right here. So right here, you can see that the PBR texture looks in 3D. It has some texture to it, and it looks extremely realistic. So make sure to search for YouTube videos in which PBR textures are explained a bit more. But this is how to use them in Kuhom, which is quite tricky to understand, but when you get the vibe of it, then you understand how to use them and how to adjust them and how to use them to your favor. Now that I have take a closer look at this, you can see that it has grooves, dents, and roughness to it as if it was actual concrete. And that's where the realism is achieved. Now that we have done that, we can now take a rendering of the scene just like this. Let me delete this real quick. Let me erase this real quick. And let's take a rendering of just the kitchen and the texture we just uploaded. And let's click on render. And for the final part of this webinar, I wanted to show you how the overall scene would look like once um, once decorated. So if we go here and take this photo right here and click on render, we can now take a couple of artistic shots, such as I don't know, maybe let's go with this. This is a fun part. This is the part I love most about working with it. Hold on just a second. Let's rotate this. That's it. Okay. So let's now render a front-facing shot of these kitchen, so you can take a closer look. Let's maybe do this like this. Let's set it off to 0 and adjust the view. Maybe do this. No, this. Maybe just this, simpler. Adjust the camera height. And finally, let's take a close-up right here. Let's take a close-up right here so you can see how the PBR texture looks with the rest of the model. So now we have the kitchen, the PBR texture, the oven glass, the range hood that we did, the fridge, and let's just wait for the rest of the scene to come up. And that will be it for it. So Jan, if you have anything to add, we can just wait until these renderings are done, and that will be it for it. Unmute. All right, so everyone, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So this is the final scene with a partial decoration that I did for this webinar. It probably needs more adjustments in terms of lighting. It will probably need as well some editing in order to improve the details and illumination and stuff. But this is the general decoration that I did for this webinar. I'm hoping that you guys could see how everything looks all together. And I want to move forward with this final rendering right here, which is the kitchen close-up, in which we're gonna notice how the roughness map we uploaded for the black texture affects the light bouncing on it, the PBR material and how it looks, and especially the LED stripe that I uploaded, which in my opinion is the best method, that at least the method that works for me the best. And that's the way you can achieve a very realistic rendering. With some work and some knowledge and some time dedicated to it, you can also do the same. If you practice and practice and practice, that's how you get at this point. So it has been a great pleasure to me to be here today and to teach you everything that I've discovered and everything that I know Kuhum can do and not everyone does. And I'll be happy to share more of my knowledge in the future if you guys want. I hope everyone a great evening in the other part of the world. The day's just starting for me, but it has been such a fun webinar. I had a great time.
And for me, I think for most of people, the advanced settings are the entry of the advanced setting are very deep, and we definitely need to how to say, to repeat the existence of them again and again. So I think we will also work on our article tutorial on that. So
That'd be great. That'd be great. If you
yeah,
guys need help, just let me know.
yeah. Okay. And also, can you maybe share the renderings to me afterwards? I think they are quite nice, and we can use it as a cover
Yeah, sure.
for the
Let
video.
me just take a couple of better shots and maybe do some light
Great.
editing to it, and I'll send you. I send them your way so you can use it.
Sure. Fantastic.
Yeah,
So that's all for today. I will help to record, edit the record afterwards. And Huan, you can start your day, and maybe we talk later. Okay.
sure. You can have.
Okay. So everyone, thank you for attending today's session, and all the recordings will be founded on our Cool Home YouTube channel this week or to the latest the next one. So thank you for your time and have a nice day or night. Bye bye,
Goodbye.
everyone.